Hi everyone, my name is Katie Pitts, and today I'd like to walk you through how to get started sharing your protocols through the Better Biomolecular Ocean Practices, or BeBOP system. So first, why do we need a better way to share our omics protocols? We know that understanding the variability in the methods used to generate eDNA data is critical to its interpretation, and minor protocol differences can have large effects. Knowing exactly how data was generated helps us understand which data sets may be comparable and potentially useful for your scientific question. It also helps us reproduce scientific studies better, with version control, an equipment list, and detailed instructions for quality control and troubleshooting. Finally, it helps make data sets and protocols more findable. Putting your protocol into this format helps you export important metadata for sharing protocols and data sets. It also makes it easier to find and see protocols in use by different groups. And the metadata fields will help us sort protocols to help others find the best protocol for their needs. These were some of the primary drivers behind the group of scientists who developed the BeBOP protocol system. So, alright, what does a BeBOP protocol look like? On the right, you can see all the different sections of the BeBOP protocol. Right at the top, we have a section that lists important metadata terms. These terms include descriptions of the protocol itself that pull from a list we developed called Minimum Information About an Omics Protocol, or MIOP. And they also, importantly, pull from a new emerging metadata standard for eDNA data called FAIR eDNA, or FAIR-E. You'll be hearing much more about these terms as part of this workshop, but they describe key metadata about what exactly occurred in an eDNA study. Here we took the group of relevant FAIR-E terms. For example, if this is an eDNA or DNA extraction protocol, we took all the FAIR-E terms related to extraction of nucleic acids and put them at the top for you. Filling out this list will be important later when it comes time to publish your data. The rest of the BeBOP protocol contains the meat of your protocol information, organized into different sections. We'll go through these in more detail later, but first, let's take a look at what the BeBOP website looks like. Here we are on the BeBOP homepage at github.com/BeBOP-OBON. And first, it starts off with the intro to BeBOP and some information that I just went over with you now, and quick guide to how to get started. But what I'd like to do is show you some examples of what BeBOPs look like once they're completed. So here I've clicked on AOML's Omics Protocols site, where they've put many of their protocols into the BeBOP format. And so just taking a look at one of them, I can take a look at the 18S PCR protocol that they use. This takes us to their separate repository that describes their 18S protocol. And I can look at it in preview mode. So here I'm seeing the markdown document when it's been rendered. So first, this top section is this list of terms and values that I was just introducing, where we have certain terms that describe the protocol itself, and then certain terms from the FAIR-E project that specifically describe PCR protocols. Then we get down to really the meat of the protocol, where you have the unique title for your protocol, an author list, related protocols to this one, and we start to get into background of why this protocol was developed or why it's used, and a very detailed list of equipment needed for the protocol. And then really the meat of what you actually were doing in the protocol itself, the standard operating procedure. So how the PCR reaction was done, any quality control and cleanup that occurred, and then also how sequencing prep and sequencing facility protocol happened right after the PCR, along with a basic troubleshooting guide and any references or appendixes that you may want to add. So this is what the rendered markdown document looks like when it's in its human readable form. But we can also look at what it looks like just in markdown code itself. And so here you see that same list as term value pairs that we've organized into MyOp terms as well as Fairy terms. And this is what becomes that table that I just showed. Then you can see what Markdown format looks like, where these hashtags here are just creating different levels of headers for the sections of your document. But when you go to enter in text, it's just like human readable text. You're able to type as you would normally. It's mostly just the formatting that is going to be changed by putting it into Markdown format. All right, so here we are back on the BeBOP OBON GitHub webpage. And now that you've seen what BeBOPs look like when they're filled out, we're going to get started on how to create your own BeBOP protocol. So going back down onto this list of, how to get started, we first want to go to the repository that contains all our empty templates. So I'm going to click on this link here. Okay, so here's where we developed our BeBOP protocol templates in Markdown format that are all ready for you to fill out. And so since we started with a PCR example, let's look at a PCR template. So this one is just called Protocol Template PCR. And so again, in preview, we're looking at what it looks like once the Markdown text's been rendered. So what it looks like in its human readable form. But we can also look at the code version. So again, here's those term value pairs that we pulled in both from MyOp and Fairy. And then here are those organized for you header sections. So we've done all the work of formatting for you and kind of already created these tables that you can fill in. But the hard work of creating the BeBOP protocol is now entering in the information about your particular protocol into these different sections. And so in order to do that, we have to download the file. So we can just go here to download the raw file. Now I've opened that same protocol template PCR Markdown file within Markdown editor. This one is called Macdown, but there's lots of free ones available. And the fun thing about these Markdown editors is it gives you what the code looks like on the left. So here it's showing you the Markdown formatting. And then it shows you immediately on the right-hand side what it actually will look like once it's rendered. So on the right-hand side is what your document will look like once it's done. And then you can edit the text on the left-hand side. So here I could just add my name. And then once you add and edit the text, you would see it change on the right-hand side as well. And so one of the benefits to using this Markdown method is we can create this formatting that we've shared with everyone, but it also makes it much more machine readable, especially up here in this front section where we have a list of terms and their values. And so as part of this tutorial, we're going to spend a lot of time figuring out what these Fairy term values should be for your particular protocol. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. Instead, I'm going to walk through these different sections of the protocol template. So here is where you need to have all your information about your protocol, what you actually did, handy. And so some of it is just filling out these tables. So like who are the authors of the protocol, if there were any related protocols or previous versions of protocols that you'd like to reference to say this is a protocol of just a change from another one. Any kind of acronyms or abbreviations that you need to add or a glossary of terms. But sometimes it's easiest to start right with describing why this protocol was developed and what it does, and then why this method, why you use this method. So this helps people understand whether they should also use this protocol and can give justification of why you made the choices you did in developing this protocol. And then, after some more information about personnel required or training requirements or time needed, we have the equipment list. And so here, this becomes as useful as you're able to put information in here. So it really helps people getting started to know exactly what they'll need to conduct your protocol. And so this can be, time consuming, but really helpful, especially for beginners. And then we get to the standard operating procedure itself. So here's where you can take your often Word document. We often had our protocols in Word documents, and I would just copy and paste different sections for preparation, for describing the PCR protocol itself into the relevant section in the Markdown document. And because, editing this text, it's human readable, you can copy and paste on this side from a Word document. So it's really easy if you already have text available to just slot it right in the right section. And what we've done here with these tables is just try to make it easier to format things in the same way, so it's easier for people to compare from one protocol to another one. And then you also have different quality control steps. You can talk about PCR cleanup, and then any troubleshooting details you can add, and references and data sheets. So this is really the basic sections of the BeBOP protocol, and really the difficult part is bringing together all the information you have about your protocol and first, so you have that information, and then just moving it into these sections. And what makes it really nice and much easier is when you have a Markdown editor like this one. All right, so now you've created your new Markdown document that describes your PCR protocol and is in the right Markdown format, and you want to take the next step and start sharing and tracking your protocol. So the first step is to have, we like to work within GitHub, which is an online system available for sharing code, but it's been really useful for sharing our protocols and organizing them. So first off, once you have a GitHub account, then you're able to do something called creating a new repository. And there's a lot of documentation on the GitHub site itself walking you through how to make a new account and create new repositories. But let me just show you what it looks like from our lab website. So for example, so here's our Mbari Biological Oceanography Group website where we keep a lot of the code that we're working on for papers. But we also share our protocols. And so if I had a new protocol that I wanted to share, then I would create a new repository. So what I did was click on the repositories button, and then I can just click on new repository. And so it already says who the owner is going to be. In this case, I want to create this repository in my lab group, GitHub organization, but it could be your personal, yourself, that you wanted to create this protocol under. It doesn't have to be your lab group. But then you want to create a unique repository name. And so this name should be hopefully, unique to your protocol. And this name is going to be preserved as your repository name for as long as you're tracking this protocol. So you can enter your unique name and then a description of your repository. And at this point, you can choose whether you want to make it private or public, but it might be nice to make it public so other people can see your protocol too. And then you can choose different options if you want to add a license to your protocol or a README document, which can be nice, describing your protocol. But in the end, you'll click the Create Repository button. And then once you've created that repository, that's like creating a new folder under your either user page or your institution page. And within that folder, you can start putting documents. And so that's where you're going to put your new document about describing your PCR protocol. And once it's in a repository, then you can start tracking changes through GitHub. And it also allows you, through a partnership between GitHub and another organization called Zenodo, to create a DOI. So in the end, you have a document that's tracking changes through time, and you can create a unique DOI for that document through Zenodo that you can reference in future papers. So we can, if we want, go back real quick and look at another example again of what that looks like. So here I'll go back to the AOML Omics Protocols website because they're so well organized. And what they've done, so under the AOML Omics page, they've created a repository just called Protocols. And so they've actually taken organization up one level up, where they have a repository called protocols, where they've just created this document that then links out to all the different unique repository of these they've created for each of their protocols. So it's a list of all their sample collection, extraction, library prep, and metabarcoding protocols. And so when we, like before, click on any of these, it'll take us to that unique repository that has the unique name. Here it's AML PCR protocol, eukarya 18S V9 Lane Medlin. And within this repository, they have that document. That same document you just created, that's a markdown document following the same formatting that we just talked about. So now within this repository that has this unique name, they can track any changes. And we saw that the last change that happened to this document was 2 months ago. So that's the basics, and has a DOI that you can reference. So that's kind of the basics of why it's so nice to get these protocol documents into GitHub. Not only can you make this repository for each specific protocol, but like we just saw, you can go back, you can create an overarching repository that then just has this README document that links out to all your different protocols. And this is what you can direct people to be able to discover your different protocols that you've made. And once you have these protocols in place, it's also nice to add this OBON BeBOP tag, which you're able to do, or topic, which you're able to do through GitHub. And what that means is, I believe if I click on this, see if it goes. All right, we'll be able to see everything else that has the OBON BeBOP tag. So, it's a lot of things from the AML site that we just saw, but also NOAA PMELs, ocean molecular ecology protocols, and things from our BeBOP OBON site. But it's a way we're using to be able to link out to different organizations that are sharing their protocols in this way. All right, so we've just seen how to make your own BeBOP markdown document, how to then put that file into a repository on GitHub and organize it to make it visible. And I'd like to end with one final note, again, about those very metadata terms that are at the very start of the BeBOP document. And what's really great about laying those terms out for each of your protocols is that when it comes time to share your data and publish your paper, you're going to be able to take those specific terms and immediately make the list of all the information you'll need to use this FAIRY eDNA ecosystem of tools that we're going to work through within this workshop. And so having the BeBOP in hand just gets you one step closer to being able to plug in to this new Making eDNA Fair group of terms. And so with that, thank you for your attention, and I'll be available for questions. Thank you.